to fight on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You're listening to A Radio, and this is the Morning Minute. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. Today, I want to go back to one of my pet peeves, which is namely the massive, and I do mean massive, price differential in retail prices between everything, or very nearly everything, between the US and Canada. Now I know, or I think I know what you're going to say, that the Canadian dollar is weaker. Well, thanks to the massive out-of-control spending of Trudeau, purposely collapsing the value of the Canadian dollar, that's true. However, that's only part of the story, and I want to give you a very recent personal example. I at present need to replace a window in my house, which is basically rotted out. Nothing fancy, just a basic window, just a sash up me down me window. So I've done some research and I went to my local box store, and I need to point out at this moment that this box store is operating both sides of the border. So that gives you a choice of two, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is. And it's the other point I want to make out is that this is not a Canadian only version box store. And I went there to get a rough price, which I would going to firm up later. To my horror, for a basic window, the price came out of only over $1,000. $1,000 for one window. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. So I decided to do some hunting around and found to my dismay that was about the same price everywhere I went. And one quote even came in at $1,800 for one window. Crazy, right? I think so. So I got to thinking, I will check the prices out south of the wall, as I'd bought a patio door years ago for another house that I was living in at the time. I got a price on the phone and I thought, that doesn't sound right to me. It must be wrong. So my wife and I decided to take a day pass out of Camp Canada across the wall into the USA. When we got there, the store guy spent a considerable amount of time with us explaining all the different options. Options, I said? Yes, he said. Northern climate, wind pressure, insulated, non-insulated. Then the list went on and on and on. We were there quite considerable amount of time. I was thinking all this time, what's this going to cost me? I thought I was going to have sticker shock, as most people would. And, by the way, did I mention that included low E glass, which was not included in the Canadian quote? The price came in with all the taxes, including the exchange rate and import duty, for which there shouldn't be an import duty because the product is made in the United States, but we'll see. And a quick call to my friend who was going to fit it, and it worked out around $300 cheaper than here. $300. After all our long conversation with the guy, he tells me about a Canadian who came down last year and bought a whole load of windows for a new construction that he had going on in Canada, which he was quoted up here at $17,000. He said, you'll never guess what he finally ended up paying here. I said, I have no clue. He said, 7. That's $10,000 difference. It's just insane. Now, this is not the end of the story, because this particular window, which I will not mention the name of, and to give the manufacturer a heads up, is actually also made in Canada, fairly close to me. Now, if the materials are being sourced either here or in the US, it doesn't really make any difference because that's the manufacturing cost. Our window should not cost dollar for dollar double what it does in the US. That, my friends, is a real example of double profits at the expense of you, the consumer. For me, it means I could almost do 2 windows for the price of 1, and could do if it wasn't for the crappy value of the Canadian dollar. So this final thought, next time you're asked to buy Canadian, ask yourself, can you really afford it? You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com. I am very pleased to announce that thanks to you for following us on Spreaker.com, that A Radio can now be found on iTunes under A Radio. Thank you, everyone. And I'm on Twitter at A Radio Canada. I'm also on Facebook at A Radio Canada. I am on Gab at A Radio. You can email me at aradiocanada@gmail.com. Please click the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning minutes at Spreaker.com under A Radio. That's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can also find all my podcasts and morning minutes at aradio.wordpress.com. And click on the Morning Minutes tab.